It's make or break for Spencer Pratt. Today's primary day in the LA mayor's race, and we're about to find out whether voters have had enough of the naked junkies shooting up next to their schools. Pratt's making his closing argument, telling the California Post, quote, Los Angeles either votes for Pratt or it votes for death. The greatest city on earth hangs in the balance. He also told Bill Maher, no more pot on playgrounds.
I don't want you smoking in front of kids at the park.
Oh.
You know, I'll be enforced. If you're smoking that in front of a kid at a swing,
We-
I'll be getting you as mayor, you know. No more drugs around kids at parks and schools, in front of daycares, even if it's illegal pot. We need to have a society of consequences again.
Meanwhile, Mayor Karen Bass running to Kathy Griffin for her closing message.
I think people have unrealistic expectations about what powers the mayor has and does not. So you're being blamed single-handedly for the homeless crisis.
Government in general is very confusing to people, and they don't know who does what. Many of these problems have existed for decades, and we have absolutely made headway. But have I solved 30-year-old problems? No.
And you need another term to do that.
Exactly.
And knee pads nuking Democrats for rampant homelessness under his watch.
But you also have to have a mindset around visible results. And the ultimate manifestation of that failure, the byproduct of the affordability crisis, what's happening as it relates to street homelessness, unsheltered homelessness, encampments in particular, quality of life, the diminution of quality of life, and this notion that we couldn't do anything about it, this sort of victim mindset.
Kennedy, how do you think tonight, tomorrow, well, they'll probably count votes for next month or two. How do you think it's going to shake out?
Well, if people are rational and they've had enough of that brand of thinking, you know, Gavin Newsom was mayor of San Francisco, and that's when the unfettered, unhoused really exploded. And, you know, it happened on his watch. And he was pressed on it when he was mayor of San Francisco. And he said, we have to meet the moment. Hopefully, this is the moment where voters meet the moment in California, in Los Angeles. And if the people that I have talked to, my friends and neighbors, people that I've known from gymnastics and, you know, my girls' schools, if they have anything to say about it, they're going to unseat Karen Bass because there is so much active anger toward her. And, you know, it's not just in Pacific Palisades, it is across the city. And a vast majority of Angelenos look around and go, you know, the city's going in the wrong direction. Karen Bass now conveniently today says that, oh, these problems have existed for years. But last week she said, you know, a few years ago, there were no homeless people on the streets. Well, maybe it has something to do with her incompetency and her rise through California politics. That has crescendoed with the Pacific Palisades fire, which is a metaphor for her governance and her political career, which, you know, I am very much hoping that Angelenos puts a pin in her political grenade tonight.
He said it's either you have LA or you have death. Those are the stakes.
It's pretty extreme, but at least in his case, he can point to evidence of the degradation. You just look on the streets and you go, there it is. This is not a hypothetical when they say it's an existential risk of climate change. You can actually see the junkies. You can see the crime. Kathy Griffin thinks that Bass should have another term. So she is a microcosm of the city, Los Angeles itself. Under disrepair, plagued by mental illness. Money is thrown at remedies that do nothing to solve the underlying rot. You can keep having facelifts, just like you can keep re-electing Democrat mayors, but it does nothing but keep the catastrophe alive. It never gets any better. It just gets worse. And that podcast is worth noting because, you know, she's a progressive blue celebrity. Just like Jane Fonda, just like Sam Jackson, they all endorsed Bass. And if she wins, it has no effect on them whatsoever. It is just like all the celebrities who donated their time and money to the fire relief concert. Once it was over, they had no reason to see if the money got there. They don't care. They did their deed, $100 million. Nobody knows where it went. It did not go to the victims. As a Democrat, not me, I'm just saying, if you're a Democrat, there's no argument to vote for Karen Bass. Even if it's a team sport vote, she's a Democrat and she screwed your team. She's an embarrassment. How could anybody endorse her after the fires, the homelessness, the drug epidemics, the fraud? If you can't vote for Pratt, that doesn't mean you have to vote for her. That's like going back to the same abusive partner because you think there's no more fish in the sea. That might make Nithya more popular, but she was in the thick of the homeless crisis and made it worse. And she offers no solutions to what is ailing Los Angeles. So it's kind of like the Democrats, if they don't do Pratt, they have two choices of like terrible entrees on a flight. And you got to decide which one isn't going to give you diarrhea.
Do you see it that way, Harold?
First, good to be back with y'all. I would say I do, in large part. I think that I wouldn't characterize it quite like my pal did, but I think political leadership in Los Angeles has underperformed. We've heard it from Kennedy and others a lot for so many years. And one thing that Mr. Pratt has going for him, he's not a part, has not been a part of that. Two, his performance, I think, speaks volumes about the breadth of disappointment there is amongst Democrats across Los Angeles. Here's a guy who has not a lot of experience in politics, has been on television, has I thought, cut some of the savviest, I'm curious to hear Kellyanne's second, but some of the savviest, most clever commercials and marketing one could. And to hear Karen Bass, who I know, and I consider a friend, to say at the end of the campaign that 30-year-old challenges that she needs a longer time to try to address them. I think you have to realize that Americans and the world, for that matter, we all see all of this technology in front of us and all the medical research and what those advances have translated into. People are able to lose weight in weeks that they couldn't figure out how to lose for years. People are seeing ways to access information faster and find more accurate paths to success, even in business, in a less expensive way. So people expect that from government. And I think whether Mr. Pratt wins or not, and I think he probably will advance to the runoff. This is still a jungle primary here. It's not a plurality when you got the top two vote getters will go to the end here. But the fact that he's even going to a runoff, the fact that he's even in this race at this point demonstrates, again, the frustration about public safety and housing and affordability. These aren't just words to Democrats or Republicans, but in this instance, Democrats, you have to act on them. And Mr. Pratt may get that opportunity himself to be the next mayor of the city. If he does, he'll be judged by the kind of results he produces for the city.
Kellyanne, where do you put Pratt in the jungle primary?
I hope that Spencer Pratt wins this election because he's already won the argument. This election was always going to be a referendum on the awful mayor that has been Karen Bass, but Pratt has transformed it from a referendum to a true choice. And 75%, Jesse, of all Angelenos, according to everyone's polling, do not want the current mayor to stay the future mayor. She's up at about, what, 25, 26% in most of the polls. And the thing about the jungle primary is we're going to keep hearing from Spencer Pratt regardless of the outcome. He's not going to go gently into thy night. If he prevails, he's going to be the big story, and he's going to get great momentum, and he'll win in November. We have 5 months to go until the actual election. If he falls short, I think he's still going to be a great voice, and people are going to know they made the wrong choice. The other thing is, I think that I can sum up Spencer Pratt's campaign. Obviously, new blood, fresh face, common sense solutions. We know that. But to Harold's point, as a practitioner of yours, the idea that he's using AI for the most clever ads anyone has seen in so long. We've had sort of sclerotic staph infection in the consultancy for so long. You get rewarded for losing. You get your 15% anyway, and you get your creative fee. He screams the future. And if I can sum up his campaign, it's that he refuses to look the other way. This is a campaign that respects the people because it reflects the people. He actually is talking about what we all see. He's basically just taking an iPhone around Los Angeles and saying, we don't need to live like this, but we only live like this because our leaders, and honestly, a lot of we citizens, look the other way. So the homeless don't have enough shelter, the hungry don't have enough food, the kids are undereducated, businesses cannot start, thrive, grow in Los Angeles. We're kicking them out. Illegal immigration is out of control, public safety. UCLA did an amazing report. Every metric of quality of life, not cost of living, quality of life is down, whether it's your neighborhood, race relations, overall economy, infrastructure, transportation, you name it, it has sunk. And he's reflecting that. The other thing is, if you've got to trot out Kathy Griffin to say you need 4 more years and you don't know that there are 7 million Californians living in poverty, 17.7% of the whole population, she's making, Karen Bass, every time she does something like this, she's making the argument against herself because she's reminding people of the problems, not that she inherited, but that she refuses to solve. And Spencer Pratt has. He's just a man with a plan.
Can I add something very quickly?
Please, sure.
Harold's point, Harold made a great point. For people who've been trying to lose weight for years, now there is a miracle cure that in just a couple of weeks can help them realize their weight loss dreams. Spencer Pratt is political Ozempic for Los Angeles.
The Pratt shot, we'll call that. Be sure to like and subscribe for all the Fox News latest on YouTube and catch full shows streaming now on Fox One.